Hey, you know what is the day today? Today is a very much of a special day for the HSR community and also HSR player base. Why am I saying this? Because HSR developer finally dropped their most awaited patch and also most awaited character at the same time, which is a third anniversary patch and also third anniversary character, the SP Silver Roof. She also comes from the path of Illusionon, which is a very recent one, and coming along with a new region, which is a Planacardia, and she classified as Eminator class. Damn man. When it comes to Eminator, according to the low rise of the HSR verse, they are the most powerful being, and also in a practical gameplay, in a practical value, they are also the one of the best value that you can even have on your account. So when the HSR releases Eminator characters, they are going to shift the whole meta, and also so many characters are not going to be the same as before. So in this video, I'm going to talk about that where this Silver Roof are placed on, is she even a good one or is she even a bad one, and how much of an impact that are already providing on the other previous character who already have a top regime, especially our previous former Eminators who also a 1 years old character, which is a Castoris, and also our another 2 years old former character who also a Echiron. She does have an impact when the Castoris was released, but the main thing is need to be shown that how the Castoris is going to be the perform in compared to battle of a new Eminator, which is a SP Silver Wolf, because when a new Eminator comes, they are going to dominate the previous version. So let's see where they are going to place on. In here, I'm going to cover up the Pride.gg because they are the most reliable side when it comes to doing this kind of tier list. They are not the only doing the tier list of a HSR, they also do the tier list of the other games such as the Udaringas and also the Zenlotto Zero, and alongside with the another 30 games, especially the popular ones. So they are the most trustworthy site, but when it comes to taking their opinion, please take it as a grain of salt, because most of the time they are not even valid one, and it creates a very much of a controversy between the community of a certain games who they cover. But when it comes to HSR, who does have a huge power creep issue, I guess that take is valid, because as a day one weak player of this game, I can even just totally give you a guarantee on that part. Anyway, let's move on to our tier list and see which character goes down for her impact, and also which character does have a good impact just being on her in the team. So let's move on to it. Beside than that, I'm not going to touch any of those like options, because if I just touch it, I can even know their character position without just being showing any of those like a list of it. So let's move on to our list. First of all, this tier list does have a good UI system where you don't even have to just shuffle through the each and every endgame mood, because this game they have a 3 types of endgame move. First one, Memory of Chaos, Pure Fiction, also Apocalyptic Shadow. So if you just going to move your cursor to a certain character, you can even know without just going to a certain endgame mode, know that where they just belong to that particular endgame mode. Just suppose if I just show a case a normal certain character on a Memory of Chaos and just move a cursor to that character icon, I can even know that where they are going to belong for that Pure Fiction. Are they even good or are they even bad or not? So that's the very much of a QQL update they just provided in here, which is just really helps to consume less time. Okay, so let's move on to our Apex tier character. Apex tier are the most powerful character, and they are not even meta one. Meta one are one of those character who does only rely for a certain buff for a certain endgame modes. If the buffs is totally favored towards them, they are going to perform well. Other than that, they are not even going to be doing good. But Apex tier are one of those character who are going to perform each and every endgame mode without relying any of those buffs. So let's see. Okay, so as you can see that our Archer is still top tier, and also our Asheville is still top tier, but when it comes to support DPS or sub DPS, he does not even perform any more better than that. If I just give you an example of a Asheville, this guy can even very much of a good comparison or good competitor to our Topaz, who are former sub DPS for a follow-up team, but we thought that he is going to be the very much of a good support character, but after seeing her gameplay and also after playing so many tests, I guess this guy is not even suited to be sub DPS. This guy is totally going to be the main DPS. If you already pull him, I guess you have to use him because your account is totally big right now. Okay, the other characters he is okay. As you can see that the Sparksy is also in a good position, because when our recent buff is totally gated towards the Illusion characters or recent endgame mode, especially Memory of Chaos or the Pure Fiction or Apocalyptic Shadow, those buffs are totally gated towards the Illusion characters. They will tend to be go ups from their tier 0 to tier 0.5. It is not even brainer. So that's a totally good position for them. Other than the sustain character are totally remain to their same position as before. I am not seeing that any of those characters going down, because those two characters adding so much value, especially Hyacinth as a character. If you do equip her with a like her light cone, she is going to give you a higher amount of heal, one shot resistance, and also going to give you huge amount of tank types of load of damage. Okay, that was a no-brainer that our new Eminator character is not going to be the tier 0 character. She has to be. She is not only a DPS character, she can even do a higher amount of buff capability capability to your Elation Premium team, because this Elation Premium team will consist of a Silver Wolf, Spark C, and also the Yao Guang. Those three teams are going to be the recent premium teams. We do have a one lacking team member option, which is a sustain character, and when the sustain character going to be released for Elation teams, I guess this team is going to be slap hard as what the Castor is right now. But after 1 year later, damn man, Castor is still top tier, because if I just give you a little bit of a rundown of what the HRN have in that problem, HRN does not even have a premium team compared to the Castor one, because Castor one has a full 5-star team, but when it comes to HRN, she does have at least one team member, which is a Jiakui. That is a male character who does really helps you to do a damage over time of a debuff to a certain enemy, and that's the only character that HRN could have for our premium team. Other than that, no other character doesn't even provide by the game developers, and she just totally lost into oblivion. But if you do have her with a good investment, I guess she's still going to be rock solid without any kind of problem. Yes, I know that what kind of tier she just totally belongs to, but in this tier list, I don't even have any idea if she is going to be go up, or is she just totally lowered down just because of the influence of having the Silver Wolf on the game situation. Anyway, that's the of a tier 0 characters. That was a no-brainer that she's not going to be the tier 0 that was meant to be happen. Let's move on. Which characters totally go down? Damn, my one eye totally goes up to my Trivi, man. Damn, man. Trivi goes down to tier 0 to tier 0.5. Are they even smoking, or is it actually valid? Damn, and Trivi still does actually one of those like a better harmony character that you could even ask for in this game. Why am I saying this? Because she's the first character who can even use the dance perfectly. If you just slap her to a dance especially S5, you don't even need a Robin, which is still not even in a list of a Apex tier, because Apex tier is consist of a tier 0 to tier 0.5, and after that all of those characters are totally meta irrelevant. But as you can see, she's just going to give a 25% action advance consistently, because being her off field, she does not even require that much of his speed. Being her off field or off turn, when the character of your characters is doing a skill damage, basic attack, and also ultimate, she's just going to generate her ultimate points for that your team member's ultimate. That's how much of a FT friendly she is. And when she's just going to do her ultimate, or you can say the deploy the ultimate, all the team member are going to be action for a 25%. Man, and also that's not the main thing, man. That's not the main thing. When she just use her skill, which is going to be the 100% uptime all the fucking time, she can give you 24% respan, which is a resistant penetration, and also her ultimate, so not actual ultimate, on her follow-up attack. Whenever your team member do a ultimate, she can give you a unlimited loads of amount of follow-up attack, and those follow-up attack, when it is going to hit the enemy, they are going to do a 34% up to a double damage vulnerability, which is actually helps to do a lot of damage if your DPS character is on the field. I have no idea why they are trying to do it, and especially her E1 is the most broken one, because her E1 can give you a true damage, also uptime, whole over team member. So if I just give you an example, who can even have a good competitor of her, which is going to be none other than our Sireni. Man, she is also doing what the Trivi E1 does, but Trivi E1 does require a high amount of investment. If you're just being one of those like an unlucky guy, you have to go to like a at least 200 or 300 pulls to get like a E1 copy if you are being unlucky. If you don't even like a lose or win any of those like a 50-50 one of those your pulling session. That's the main thing. But having a one Sireni character, you don't even have to worry about anything else. You can even get the buff what the TV is providing to you. But as a character which is going to action advance for your whole members, it is actually very much of a good one. Man, I have no idea why they are totally removing her from tier 0 and also pointing her or adding her to tier 0.5. That's actually diabolical to see that. And other character, damn, is Sparkle. Sheesh, man. She was like a few patches ago, she was considered tier 1 or tier 2 character. She was not even considered top tier. But as you can see that Trivi is going down and Sparkle is going up. Of course, the end game is totally shielding towards our Elation character who does require a high amount of SP. And let's see who are also having that problem, especially Ho-Ho, because after Nova Filler buff, they are putting her into a watch list because they need to put her a lot of tests to see that is she even deserve this tier list, or should she go higher or should she go lower. That's the thing they need to focus right now. That's why they are just putting her into a watch list. Anyway, for the tier 1, ooh, damn man, sheesh. Our big guy, man, this whale was the Gigachet in Honkai Impact 3rd. So when this guy was released, this guy was kind of like a tier 1, tier 2 or tier 0 character, because in that time the content was very much of a new, so you can even just clear the content with the help of your standard characters, and Welt was one of those like best choices. After some time later, when the other characters was also coming up, this guy does not even hold any kind of candle. So I guess he just totally lost into oblivion. But after this Nova Flare buff, which is released almost like a release of this game 3 years later, this guy still goes up to like a tier 5 to tier 1. Damn, man, damn. Whew. I already see what kind of buff he provides, so I'm going to make a like a Nova Flare buff tier list after this video. If this video somehow got a good amount of impression and also good amount of views. Other than that, let's move on to our sustained characters. Gallagher, damn man, you just totally serve us very well. Being a 4-star character, totally battling against this big juggernaut 5 stars, you did so much well. Even to this day, if you are one of those like a new player, if you have no other good sustained character option, this guy will help you to not even actually endgame mode, because the endgame mode actually the enemies are just giving a huge amount of hard hit, so your character cannot even sustain what the Gallagher is providing you, the heals. Other than that, damn, Zilla is also putting into a watch tier list, because after the buff of a resurgence where she does not even require to kill an enemy to proc her passive, she does even have to go move upwards. That's why they are going to put her lots of tests to see that is she even viable or not. Other than that, Jiaku is totally lowering down, and Echiron, damn man, Echiron is still a 2 tier 1 character. If you do have a good amount of investment on her, she still slaps. Other characters is moving down. Mars 7 also moving down. Topaz is also moving down from her previous position. Other than that, all the characters remain to their same as before position. What can I say? Let's move on to our Silver Roof review. What kind of things they are provided in here, especially pros, that if you have her, what kind of pros that you are going to get from her, and also cons, what you should be avoid before pulling her. So first point is going to be the excellent damage in all scenarios. Of course, she's the Eminator and she's going to be dominated in each and every section, and the game is going to make the endgames get towards this elation and also get it towards her own favor. For our second one, which is the pure elation damage dealer, of course, elation is a very much restricted mechanics where if you don't even have a whole team member of elation, then you cannot even do the R damage and also cannot even do the generate the punchline point, which is actually the main point to generate her our Silver Wolf ultimate. Other than that, your character is going to be the dog shit one. Third one is extremely speedy. Of course, after the version or beta testing V3 or V5, the developer has totally changed her kit where damage to a speed character, if you don't even have a good speed on her, she is not going to have her a turn, and the damage is going to be very much lower than ever. And the fourth option is going to be the surprisingly durable. Damn man, that's another part, because if you really want to use her in a sustainless team or sustainless without any kind of sustain character, I guess she can even just do a much better without any kind of sustain character. For our fifth point, which is the SP efficient and can restore SP throughout the fight. Well, as her passive and also as her other character who does also have elation characters, they do have kind of this kind of passive where they can even just generate their own SP without relying on other characters. For our next point, which is going to be the good economy for elation teams, of course, she can even enable the AHA points and also do a massive damage towards the enemy. For our next one, which is going to be the overkill protection and also her great source of damage. Sorry, I don't know what kind of things they are trying to understand in here. If you already understand, you can even let me know in the comment sections. For our next one, which is a solid vertical investment options. Yes, I do heard that if you just somehow make her E2, actually going to be dominated into this game and also going to give you a value of a 1 or 3 years of worth. That's how much of a powerful she is. Not actually her, every Eminator characters, if you do have a good investment on them, especially with the premium character and also Lightcone have a multiple constellation, she going to or they're going to dominate it without any kind of problem. For our last point, of course, I'm not going to talk about it because they are going to make it as a joke point. For our cons, for our first point, which is going to be reliant on the elation team member to reach her peak. Of course, as I already mentioned before, elation is a restricted one. If you don't even have a full team members of elations, you cannot even do anything jack shit at all, because all the elation characters are totally relying on each other. Especially if I give you an example of Yaguang, if you don't even have her, you cannot even generate the off field or you can say the off turn AHA point, which is the main damage source of a whole AHA points. If you don't even deploy the AHA damage, your Silver cannot even deploy her ultimate, and also her other passive, especially the follow-up attack and also do the normal things, cannot even going to be happen anymore. For a second point, which is going to be the despite good LC option, signature LC is irreplaceable and hitting 200 speed reasonably. Oh man, if you don't even have her light cone, you cannot even reach the 200 speed, which is the her main threshold that you have to maintain at any cost. That's the main thing. Well, as I mentioned before, I guess H1 was the one character who can even use without her LC, but the content is not even favoring her, and also the damage she's putting right now, it is not going to be very much good for the HP that the enemies currently have on right now. So she does even require her signature weapon to somehow get a value into this current meta, but other than that, I'm not seeing any kind of value to this current one. For her second point, which is going to be the small pool of a good teammates for now. Yes, as I already mentioned before, restricted one, so the team member are going to be restricted, so the number of options is going to be restricted as well. As for our final point, also going to be the joke point, not going to talk about anything more. So the review is not even that of a surprising one. As I already mentioned before, she's totally have a similar effect what the caster is already left for us in the second anniversary. That's the main thing. So let's move on to the build and teams and also Litecoin. I guess I don't even have to talk about anymore because they already mentioned that what kind of things she required her team member, which is already consist of a Sparksy and also Yaguang, and we do really require the 4th slot of sustained character from the election path, so we have to wait for it. Other than that, I guess there is nothing to be discussed anymore or anything else. So I guess if you really want to pull for her, I guess you have to pull for a multiple constellation. If you're like who already missed the character of this special valuable character, especially the Sparksy and also Yaguang, I guess you can even have a alternate option, which is a Trailblazer Elation character, or you can say EMC character. You can even get it for free just playing the story. But other than that, she does require the Sparksy to generate the punchline point, which is actually the main ultimate resource of her. If you any of the character cannot even do the punchline point or generate any kind of punchline point, she cannot even do any kind of ultimate damage, and also the whole damage is going to be very much lower than ever. So I guess that's all for it. If you really want to invest on her, I guess at least get her E2 and also her Litecoin if you're one of those like a new player, also returning player, and also wait for these two characters to appear, especially the Sparksy and also Yaguang, to get a rerun and get their characters, especially Sparksy with her LC, because her LC is going to value huge amount of compared to what the Yaoguang does. So other than that, you don't even have to worry about anything at all. So I guess that's all for this video. If you like it, leave a like. If you have any kind of question regarding this, her position onto this tier list, and also the TV's position, how she just totally down from the tier 0 to tier 0.5, you can even just totally comment on the comment section, and see you on the next video. Peace.